All right, welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you tuning in. Today, part of the Coyote Swap T-Bird project, I'm going to get into the unconventional part of the swap. Some would say I'm doing it for the haters, but tranny swap. So, getting into, looking around the internet, I can't find really any information out there on what I'm doing. And what I'm doing is, of course, if you watch the previous videos, is I had a fully built 4R75W, doing a 4-speed automatic in this car with the Coyote. Lots of information out there of people doing auto swaps with 6R80s, 10R80s. Pretty much the only 4R70 stuff that I can find is like old classic Mustangs, early Broncos, even some OBS Ford truck stuff. But I haven't found anything Foxbody out there. If you guys know of anything Foxbody related with the 4R, let me know in the comments below. Send me a link or something. I would love to know about it. But so I'm making a video on what I'm going through to make this work in this car. So stay tuned and let's get into it. Okay, so let's get into this. 4R75W. I wanted to do 4-speed auto swap in this car. I don't know. I guess I thought it was going to be a lot cheaper and easier than doing the 6R80 route. I don't know. I really don't know. Point is I did it. So that's the route I'm going. That's the route I chose. Like I said in previous videos, I kind of explained a few steps back on why I chose to go this route. The car is light. It's only a 3,200 pound car compared to a newer Mustang, which are, I don't know, almost 4,000 pounds now, I guess. The car has a built 8.8 in it with 390 gears already, so I don't need that super steep first couple gears that the 6R and 10Rs have. This axle ratio will work good with the 284 first gear, I believe, in the 4R. So I think that's going to be a good combination. It's not going to feel doggy or anything like that. So I got the headers to work with it. I got everything else. Trans is built, again, full kit from Monster Transmission. I know everybody freaking hates Monster Transmission. They didn't build the transmission. I just bought all my parts through them. They had a very all-inclusive kit that had everything that I needed for this build. I had a local shop build it, so we're all good. Let's calm down. So trans is done. I have all the parts here. Now I'm working my way through all the little teething pains on doing this swap. Again, I haven't found any other Foxbody information out there on doing this swap, so I'm going to try to be as thorough as I can on all the little things, the roadblocks and the hiccups that I run into along the way on getting this done. Hopefully this will help somebody. I don't know. I mean, somebody that's got an SN95 car that's already got like an AODE in it. Some of this stuff might come in handy for them. I don't know. Or just anybody else wanting to go down this road, the unconventional route. It seems to be what I like to do. So anyway, let's get into it. I'll show you the trans and all the parts, and let's get into all just the little hiccups and everything and how I'm working through them and all my solutions. Hopefully it'll help you, and let's get it done. Okay, so now for the unconventional part of my swap. Here is my fully built 4R75W. Had this trans built locally with a kit that I bought from Monster Transmission. This is their, I can't remember exactly what they call the kit. This is the 650 horsepower rated kit. It's got the upgraded clutches and steels and bands. So it's much more than just a stock rebuild. It has their calibrated shift kit in the valve body. My buddy just had this identical transmission built for his Mercury Marauder. Same converter I'm using, same trans kit, same shop built it, and I will say it works amazing in his car. The shifts are just perfect, spot on, nice and crisp. Feels really good. This will be, I guess, one step beyond that because this will be fully controlled by its own TCU with that US Shift Quick 4. So I'll be able to kind of tune and dial this in how I see fit. So it's got a couple modifications to do for the flex plate torque converter, shift selector arm. I've been already tinkering with that. I have to kind of modify that to work with I bought a stock 87, 88 AOD shifter, again, from Ron Hartman, Thunderbird parts guy. Got me a really nice unit there. So that'll be really cool. And I have the correct shift bezel coming for the console to fit that as well, too. So anyway, I'm going to flip this over and start messing with this shift lever, get it all to work correctly with the shifter, and then we can go ahead and we can get this bolted to the motor. Now I got the trans flipped over, pull the pan off, and all I had to do was pull that roll pin out, take the nut off the back side of the rooster comb, and then this just pulls right out. And I've already been working on it. I've already modified it once. My first version didn't work, but I know what I need to do. And yeah, so I'll get that figured out. I had to move around some bolts on the case for the shifter bracket. Here's the stock AOD shifter. That bracket will bolt to those studs on the tail housing. And I just got to get the length of that arm and position of it right for the correct ratio for the shifter. So I'm working on that right now. We'll get that figured out. Okay. So I got the original shift lever out. I said I had modified this already. Didn't work out right. I didn't think it through all the way. So this is not going to work. So I ended up getting the Locar 4R70 shift lever they sell. This pretty nice one here. This gives you multiple adjustable positions for the shift arm. And it still has the fitting on the end has the notches for the neutral safety switch or shift selector switch, whatever they call it. So that'll still go on there because the US Shift TCU is going to need that. So all I got to do is put this in, reattach the rooster comb, the nut, and then I'll go ahead and get all this in the correct orientation. And I finally figured out how to make the shifter cable work. I've got to make one little modification to the shifter cable, and I'll show you that. Well, I'll just show you right now, I guess. So, end of the shifter cable. So the problem is this is slotted, and the end of the shifter cable is slotted also. I can't just bolt them up tight together because they have to be able to move a little bit as this swings through its arc of travel. If these two are just smashed together, then this cable's not going to operate right. They got to be able to move. So I figured out what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically turn the end of the shifter cable to where it doesn't have that slotted adjustment there. I'll get all my ratio adjustment on this end here. I have two washers I'll end up welding, so I'll just have one solid hole. So then I can go ahead and I can tighten a bolt to the Locar bracket so that won't move. It'll go through these washers, and I'll just use like a nylon lock nut. So that'll allow everything to pivot freely as it goes through its arc. Should work fine now. Wish I would have thought a little harder about it before I went modifying stuff, but it is what it is now, so should be fine. This right here, the studded end just goes right through. And also you have this little roll pin you have to get out. It's fairly easy to get out, but don't forget that's got to come out too. So anyway, let me get this all together, and then we'll pick it up from there. Okay, shift lever, the low car shift lever is installed. Got the nut on the bottom of the rooster comb. Made sure this engaged the valve correctly. I have the transmission in neutral. So you can see these notches. There's 2 notches. Those correspond with those on this switch here. So what I'm finding though is, when I put this on, those spacers hold it up from going on all the way. So it looks like probably gonna have to remove those aluminum spacers and just bolt it right up to it. So I'm going to remove those and then I'll see how it fits, because I still have to get this piece has to go on the end of that shaft, and there's no way it's going to fit right now. So okay, we're figuring this stuff out as we go. So let me get that modified. Okay, so actually what I did was, these spacers are offset and they have this little shoulder that holds them in place. I just drove them out the bottom, and then I put them back in on the top to change the offset. So now the bolts can go in, and that works. And now this piece here, from low car, there it is. Okay, so that's how that works. Moving on. Okay, there it is, the arm, lever, and the sensors all on there now. So it worked. Here's the next problem to figure out. Transmission shifter is in neutral. Transmission itself is in neutral. So I need to get these 2 bolted up. So obviously I can take these 3 out. I can rotate this around. I can move it down to another position. I need it to get it to line up with this, and I need to get the ratio right. So I'll have to throw the stock AOD shifter out to go through each gear selection and see where in this slot I need to bolt this up to get the right ratio to match the detents in the shifter and the detents in the trans. That's really important. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to pull this out, and I'm going to at least get it close to matching up with the end of the shifter cable. And then, like I said, I have an idea on how to, I can't have a slotted arm and a slotted cable. It won't work. So I'm going to make this one fixed. It's just going to have 1 hole in it. And I'm pretty sure in my mind, my idea is going to work this time. So let me get this tore apart and lined up, and we'll go from there. Getting all of this figured out, figuring out the right place for my pivot point to get the ratio correct to work with the AOD shifter. What I had to do was I had to get a little creative and to get this all to work right, because the ideal location of this arm was literally in between the bolt holes that were already there. I guess I could have taken it to my buddy's machine shop. We could have re-drilled in between and threaded them, but I don't know if that would weaken this part right here. So basically what I did was I chose to focus on the mounting part of it. What I did was I removed the factory bolts that go in the case. These would go in, this bracket would slide over, and then a nut would hold it on. Well, what was happening was the cable was still too far forward. And if I move this moved the arm too far forward to work. So I couldn't find a happy medium to where these 2 would work. So my solution to it is move this mounting bracket back to where this lines up, and I can set this for the correct ratio. So what I did was I just went and bought some all thread at the hardware, replaced the all thread, took out the stock hardware, Loctited these in, nutted it, then I have another nut to basically set the depth on how far I want to mount this bracket here. So it's double nutted here, double nutted down here. I can effectively move this bracket wherever I want to change the location of this end of the cable with the shift arm. Where I have it right now, it works. Boy, I spaced this thing out probably good 2 inches. I moved this bracket back probably about 2 inches. That gets me lined up perfectly with the shift arm. I had to play up and down with this stud to get the right ratio, and that was basically me starting off in neutral, getting this lever to go on. I put a mark on this, the center of this stud, and it was basically put the trans in reverse, put the shifter in reverse, and make it line up with this mark with my stud. And I did that through all of the gears, forward and backward. And it took me moving this. I started up pretty high, and I just kept moving this stud on this shift arm lower and lower and lower till I got right to a spot where whatever gear the transmission was in, I could put the shifter in, and this stud and my mark on the cable lined up. Now I know the travel, everything is the same between this and the shifter. So now all I have to do is slide this over my little mounting stud here that's bolted tightly to the low car arm. And what I'm going to do is these washers, I'm going to weld them right to the end of this cable to effectively make this slot useless. It's just going to be a solid hole. And then I'll just put on a nylon lock nut and just put it on snug. So these can still move freely together at this point right here. Problem solved. That should work just fine until I bolt this to the motor and I put the headers on and I figure out where the heck the collectors end up. I'm praying I do not have any header interference in this area, but I'll be finding that out here real soon. But anyway, shifter, all of this stuff fixed, figured it out. Move the location of this mounting bracket. Again, I'm using a stock shifter. I didn't want to go aftermarket shifter route. If you do, you may not have any of these problems that I'm having, but it was important to me. I wanted to use a stock AOD shifter in this swap. So this is what I had to go through to make it work. So there it is, checking this off. So the torque converter that I'm using for this swap is basically an upgraded version of a factory Mercury Marauder torque converter. This is the one all the Mercury Marauder guys, when they're doing blower swaps and everything on their cars for their 4R75s, this is the torque converter they're using. It's rated for 22 to 2400. It's made by Dynamic Torque Converters. That's the part number there. And I ran into one little hiccup. The donor vehicle that I got the transmission from, the 4R flex plate is a 6-bolt crankshaft. I kind of forgot about that. Coyote being an 8-bolt, what I had to do was I have the original Coyote 6R flex plate, which is 8-bolt. It's the same 164 tooth, same diameter. The depth, the offset, and everything is exactly the same as the 4R flywheel. So it's a direct replacement. The only thing being is, and I think it's because of this converter, the bolt pattern for this converter here is 10-inch 5/8. The bolt pattern on this one stock was 11.5-inch. So I took it over to my buddy's shop and we threw it up on his machinery, and we got this precisely re-drilled for 10 5/8. This I'm not worried about because all the load is going to be, I can't remember whichever way it rotates, but this is going to be insignificant. So I'll insert a little video of us doing that. yeah, so this wasn't something I was willing to just kind of eyeball it and drill it with a DeWalt, hand drill. I needed this. This had to be precisely, exactly centered. So I felt a lot better about running down the street to my buddy's house and doing it on the correct equipment. So flex plate torque converter problem handled, done. Okay, so currently I have flex plate all bolted up, some blue Loctite on all the nuts or all the bolts. I'm using this little tool here from Math Performance here in Michigan. Locks up the flex plate so I can get everything tight. I got the index plate on. Torque converter's in. I don't think it's seated all the way. I think there's one more notch. I got to get that seated in. So next thing will be bolting them together. I'm going to put everything together on the cart here. And then I can test fit the headers, see where the collectors end up. And once this is all bolted up, we're good to go. Hopefully everything fits, everything jives, and at that point I can take this over to my buddy's shop and we can get this stabbed in the car. So getting moving here. We're almost done. So anyway, I'll get this bolted up, and also once it's bolted up, I do want to take a measurement of the depth of the converter into the pump. So I'll have to get this all set up with my dial indicator and get a measurement on that too. So I'll show you how I do that. So let's do it. Oh, wow. It's a heavy bitch. Okay, so now I want to check the converter depth into the pump, see how much clearance I have. I have my, this was a pain in the ass. The engine's aluminum. Only thing steel is a damn pan. And for some reason, a magnet on my base just ain't strong enough to hold itself up there. So anyway, let's see if I can show you here. So I have the dial indicator right on the end of the stud for the converter. I have it zeroed out, more or less. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to throw a nut on that one there, and I'm going to draw it up tight and see how much clearance I have when I pull converter forward out of the pump. That'll tell me how much converter to pump clearance I have. So I don't know if I'll be able to film this very well, but I'm going to go ahead and do it, and I'll show you the result. All right. Have that zeroed out, and I'm slowly tightening up. Torque converter nut. A little hard to get to down here with this cart in the way. And we should start seeing it draw in right there. Pulling the converter forward. Giving me my clearance. Sorry about the crappy camera work here. Best I can do by myself, working one-handed. Right there, she's tight. So I'm gonna say we got about 46 thousandths. I'm good with that. There should be plenty there. All right, so now that I know I'm good there, I'm not pushing the converter into the pump, closing up that gap. I know I'm good, so I'll go ahead, take this contraption off, put a little bit of blue Loctite on each of the 4 converter nuts, and cinch them down. Well, motor and trans are together. First test fit of the headers. That's not going to work. Headers hit the corner of the block. I'm going to have to clearance that. It's not bolted up tight on the bottom. And this side Won't even go on because it hits the starter so bad. And this is supposed to be the high clearance starter that everybody uses. It worked on the other headers just fine. Ah, boy, here we go. Okay, so test fitting the headers with the starter on this side. Got a correct Ford Racing starter from a buddy. Unfortunately, the stupid thing was busted right out of the box. So wasn't able to get this wrapped up last night like I hoped. So I'm still waiting for another starter to show up. But in the meantime, I have to get the collectors welded on the headers. I got everything fitting and playing nice over here. So I'll get these collectors welded on, and we're one step closer to being done with this. So for the training cooler lines, I wanted to keep this relatively simple and affordable. So I had the idea, I wonder if a set of factory metal lines would fit this. Um, yeah, I could have bought AN fittings and some AN line and all that stuff. Um, that'll add up pretty quick and get expensive. So I looked online and I had a hunch, since this trans came in Panther chassis cars, I found a company called Lines to Go that makes pre-bent, ready to go on replacement metal cooler lines for all different kinds of stuff. But I ordered up a set of 2005 Crown Victoria transmission cooler lines, and I'll be damned, they fit damn good. Even with the headers, there's one small spot right there where it touches. I'm just going to duplicate that other bend into that tube to get it away from the header tube. Follows right along the pan rail. I just got a zip tie holding it up, but I can put a P-clamp around that and literally bolt it right to the oil pan gasket. And it's going to come out right in front of the motor. Then from there, I can just run some high pressure rubber transmission line to my cooler on the core support, and that'll be fine. I mean, these are already flared. They're set up just like the factory, so I can't believe how well they fit around the headers and the bell housing, just at one spot. But I also have got some old DEI spark plug boot heat protectors, and I have this too, which I think I'm gonna pull the header back off. Maybe I'll wrap this around the portion that's near the header just for a little bit of extra protection. But that's a win. I think that was $124. I don't think I could have done all this in AN line for that much. It would have been quite a bit more to do that. So very pleased. So that's the ticket. Okay, finally got solutions taken care of here. Got the actual Ford Racing starter on there. That clears the header no problem. Transmission cooler lines, like I said, I added some DEI heat shielding to that. We're good there. Forgot to show shifter. What I ended up doing was just reversing the stud where the cable attaches, and I had to put a little bend in it. And now the shifter works just fine. Like I said, I already had clearanced the block right there. Got just enough clearance down there in the corner. So we're good. I'm bolting this header up and loading it up for the install. But so far those are the things I've encountered and the solutions for the 4R75W. So let me get this bolted on and we're moving on. So there's the header all bolted on. Starter is in. Got plenty of clearance. Cable is routed. Goes around the back side of the motor mount. I did put a little bit of heat shielding on the solenoid. I shoved a old DEI spark plug boot heat protector over the wiring right here just to protect it a little more. But I'm happy. That's a wrap. Huh. See what I did there? All right. So I think this is going to include video number 1 of doing the 4R 75W swap in a Foxbody. This one basically just covered everything it took me to get the motor and the trans bolted together, all the little problems that I ran into, how I took care of them. So I'm ready to basically load this up, and I'm taking it to the shop where we're going to be installing everything. So I would check out the next video after this one for whatever problems we run into installing it in the Foxbody. So anyway, that's it for this video. Hope you learned something from it. Like it, share it, comment, flame it, whatever you see fit. But here it is. So 4R75W 2014 Coyote. All right, we'll catch you on the next one, hopefully. Bye.